Today on Locked On Red Wings, Detroit is sitting atop the Atlantic Division 25% of the way through the season. Is this real?
You're Locked On Red Wings, your daily podcast on the Detroit Red Wings. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back to the Locked On Red Wings podcast. We are your hosts, Brian Fisher and Scotty Bentley. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And you can catch us wherever you get your podcasts. Scotty, we talked about it a little bit in yesterday's game recap in the win against the Seattle Kraken, but the Red Wings are currently sitting atop the Atlantic Division as of recording this, about 6 o'clock on Wednesday, because, games tonight pending. Everything's so tight. Boston plays with 25 points through 20 games. The 20-game mark is usually used as a benchmark in the NHL as when you can start to feel like your team, get a realistic feel for your team, right? Things are so volatile in that first month of the season, but now we're a little over a month in, 25% of the way done. This team is amongst the top of the division, and it's tight, though. Keep that in mind. So we want to have a conversation about what has led them to this point, what still has to improve, and what, if anything, can you come away with as being real. And then, of course, we'll preview the Islanders game as well in segment 3. So, Scotty, first and foremost, let's lead with the thing that I've said about 1,000 times already. The Red Wings are first place in the Atlantic Division with 25 points. Is that real?
Keep saying it, honestly.
It sounds nice. Got a nice ring to it.
Beautiful sentence.
But is it real to you? Do you think that this is a sustainable point for the Red Wings to stand on?
I don't. I'm trying to figure out how to weasel my way out of that question.
Oh, come on. I'll answer it.
No, but here. So just bear with me. Not in the sense of I don't want to, pick a side or anything. It's more of, I think the level of play that the Red Wings are playing at in the first 20 games is sustainable. I think that the production they have so far is sustainable based on what we've seen. I also think that there are a handful of teams behind them in the Atlantic that are not playing to their ceiling yet and will surpass them. So, if we're just looking in a vacuum at the Red Wings and nobody else, and not looking at the standing and where they fall in terms of the Atlantic, then I will say yes, that this production and level of play I really do think is sustainable. I think we have a pretty decent sample size of this style of play that's being implemented this year working. I also think that there are teams behind them that are some of the best teams in the entire NHL that will probably surpass them at some point.
So to just bluntly answer my question myself, right? No, they are not real when it comes to being the top number one team in the Atlantic Division. And I do not think that is a hot take by any stretch of the imagination. What I do think is real is them being a playoff contender, because they have been the last few years. But more so than ever, do the numbers back that up, right? In years past, they've been winning and been in contention in spite of their poor play analytically. This year, it's actually analytics say they should be even performing better than the actual results are going. It's the opposite. And we had a conversation about that after the California trip, before they went on a 3-game losing streak, that their expected goals, their shot attempts all suggest that they should be scoring at a higher clip than they actually are. Their team shooting percentages amongst the worst in the league. So for me, it's not real that they're going to remain first place in the Atlantic Division all season long. I don't think that's a hot take. But I think that if they can continue to play the way they are right now for the rest of the season, right, at this level, regardless of outcome, at this level, they're going to be a playoff team. I think it'll be a wild card team still, but right now, game in and game out, for the most part, with the exception of, right, where those 3 games where they just could not find the back of the net. But even in those games, they were outplaying their opponents.
Yeah.
They are going to be right there. And they're going to be a threat.
You think they're in the top 4?
I think there's 20 games. I think it's a very real possibility because Toronto looks real bad, like way worse than I expected. I still think Boston's going to fall off, and Montreal only has 5 regulation wins out of their 10 wins.
Yeah, you're kind of splitting hair between like, are you going to get 4th or like an extra wild card at 5th or whatever? Like, how about, do you think they finish in the top 3 in the division at the end of the season?
I don't think so. I don't think that they're top 3 good yet. And if I'm wrong, I will be so happy to be right.
Right. But that's kind of just the emotional hedge, as we call it. Yeah.
But I do think with the way they're playing, they're playing at a wild card clip. This is probably the best team hockey I've seen this team play since they've decided to become competitive again.
Yeah, easily. It's the best team hockey they've played probably since the last year they made the postseason. Like, right. I don't think that's a hot take either.
No,
I completely.
I mean, 2 years ago, we're talking over ourselves. Sorry, Scotty. But 2 years ago, right, that was probably a more exciting style of hockey to play, but it had so many more flaws.
Well,
like they were winning in spite of terrible defense. This year, it might not always be the most exciting hockey, but it's a sustainable way to win games.
For sure. Yeah, 100%. That's kind of why my answer was worded the way it was. Like, I do believe that their current level of play will maintain. I just don't think that this level of play wins them the Atlantic. That's all. Like, I think like there are teams behind them that are just ultimately on paper and on the ice going to be way better than them by the season's end. But I think they don't need to be the best team in the Atlantic for this to be a successful season, right? Like, we're begging for a postseason appearance and to get playoff hockey back into the city of Detroit, and I think that they are well on their way into doing that. I think there's a couple more milestones isn't the right word, but a couple more like whatever stops along the way, like important moments in the season that they're going to have to, work through. Obviously, everybody's going to have to deal with coming back from the Olympic break. That's going to be really long. There's the trade deadline. What's the strategy? How aggressive is this team at the deadline this year? There's a lot of stuff like that. There's just not collapsing for the 4th year in a row at some point in February. Like, there's certainly other points along the season that people are gonna bring out a checklist for. But I think if I don't know, man. I really don't watch this team play and go, wow, this is completely unsustainable hockey. Like, that's what seasons ago was. That's what it was like. You watch, and even when they won, you were like, well, we got caved in at 5-on-5 and allowed 4 goals, but like, sure, like, we'll take a win. Like, that's not how this team plays. And I think that there's still plenty that they can get even better at too.
2 seasons ago, they had an unreal team shooting percentage. Like, every shot they were taking was going in. They had a team full of what felt like snipers, and they just outperformed their problems as a team. Scotty, let's head to a quick break, because when we return, I want to dive into what we think is the reasons why this is a more sustainable brand of hockey, the metrics and the players themselves. So stay tuned to segment 2 of Locked On Red Wings. Got to talk to you guys today about Rougiette. Let's be real. Making excuses doesn't solve anything. We've all heard them before. It's just stress. I'm tired. It happens to everyone sometimes. But when it comes to performance, sometimes your body just needs a little extra support. And that's where Rougiette comes in. Rougiette.com offers fast-acting, doctor-prescribed treatments for ED designed to help you stop making excuses and start making moves. Rougiette makes it easy to get started. You just connect with a board-certified doctor 100% online. No awkward waiting rooms, no in-person appointments. If prescribed, your treatment ships discreetly straight to your door. The process is fast, simple, and private, and it's all handled by real doctors. It's about confidence, connection, and getting back to the moments that matter. Visit Rougiette.com/LockedOnNHL to get 15% off your first order. That's Rougiette.com, RUGIET/LockedOnNHL. And don't forget to use our code LockedOnNHL so they know we sent you. Rougiet, stop making excuses and start making moves. Segment 2, Locked On Red Wings podcast. All right, Scotty, we've talked a lot in segment 1 about, is this team sustainable? Is their style of play sustainable? So let's talk a little bit about what is going well for them on the ice. And I think you can't start that conversation without starting with the top line. The top line, and when I say top line, I'm meaning the current iteration of that. Larkin, DeBrincat after a slow start, and Lucas Raymond, even as he was injured and working his way back from injury, have been absolutely electric and leading the way for the Red Wings in these victories. Dylan Larkin leading off with that. We talked about him a lot yesterday. 600 career points, is on pace for the best season of his career. He has been Mr. Do-It-All as number 1C.
Yeah, 100%. I think the conversation really does kind of start and end with him. He is the straw that stirs the drink pretty much every single game, if you will. He not only is one of the best point producers on the team, he's also deployed in every single situation. He's in the faceoff circle more than anybody else. He's playing really good defense as a forward, more so than certainly anybody else in the top 6 can say, if not the entire lineup card. I mean, he really is fantastic in so many areas, and he makes those around him better, which is why I think you see Lucas Raymond getting off to the incredible start he's gotten off to, even despite the injury and maybe, not scoring goals until the last couple of games. And then DeBrincat, at some point the water had to, like, the seal had to break, right? And you kind of had to open the floodgates a little bit, and he's finally able to do that and find the back of the net more consistently. Kane was hurt. He's back now. Like, there's a lot of the point-producing veterans that you knew you needed to lean on going into the year are doing exactly what you needed them to do. And I think that certainly goes a long way in this conversation.
We talked a lot yesterday about Larkin's two-way game and how good he was defensively in that game, and that obviously is huge in this conversation to how well the team's been playing, but he's also on a 98-point pace right now, which obviously would be the best in his career, as he's never even hit 80 before. Now, Dylan Larkin has gotten off the hot starts in the past and then gotten banged up. Like last year during Four Nations, you got Olympics again, and he will presumably be on Team USA's roster, so you pray for his health, and plus with the Olympics, it's adding to the season's length. Fatigue is real. So I don't know if he'll stay on a 98-point pace the whole time. I expect him to cool off at some point, but the guys around him have picked it up, right? Alex DeBrincat got off to a really slow start, didn't score a goal for like the first 9 games of the season, the longest drought in his career, and now he's got 9 goals, which is second on the team, and 23 points, just one fewer point than Dylan Larkin, which of course puts him on a, because you know how I love prorating, a 94-point pace, which is insane. But of course, again, Alex DeBrincat is prone to ebbs and flows. Lucas Raymond's got 22 points in 18 games. 18 divided by 22 is a... Nope, that's not right. Sorry.
This dude's prorating on the spot. This is incredible stuff you're witnessing right here.
22 points divided by 18 games is a 1.22 point per game pace. Multiply that by 82. He won't play 82 games, though, because of the fact that he was injured. But that's a 100-point pace across 82 games. Of course,
an absolute pro. Prorating on the spot.
And on top of that, all 3 of those guys have been phenomenal defensively. And Alex DeBrincat, more than any of them, deserves praise, because when he came to Detroit, what was the big gripe against him? He did not play good defense. And he always played bigger than he is. He's not afraid to throw the body, and he's not afraid to get physical. He's never been afraid to do that. But like, his defensive game has really taken such strides forward these last few years. And he's got 14 assists that go on top of his 9 goals. And Lucas Raymond is third on the team in points. It's been so good. So obviously that's been going right. But another thing that's been going right, Scotty, is I don't want to say youth, but I'll say timely youth, because they'll go through stretches where they aren't super impactful, but games like against the Kraken the other night, where the 2023 draft picks combined for 4 points. The youth has been stepping up when the team needs offense and the top line can't provide. Of course, the Kraken game was a little bit of a mix of both, but the youth of Axel Sandin-Pellikka, Nate Danielson, and Emmett Finney especially has done exactly what we were hoping for back when we had this conversation to start the season, in that the floor might be lower at times because of the inexperience, but when they're on, the ceiling is significantly higher than anything that Gustafsson, Hull could have offered the Detroit Red Wings at the NHL level.
Yeah, and I think that is, I mean, you're bringing up the players that were already on the team, but we even have to go back to the thought process throughout the summer, which was that they needed to add more in free agency, and then they didn't, and they made up for, I guess is the term I'm going to use, that lackluster free agency period by calling up all of the top prospects. And I think that in an offseason in which a majority of the NHL looked around and said, wow, we didn't get anybody this summer because there was nobody to get. Everybody just went to one of two teams or just re-signed, most people, with the team they were already on. The Red Wings were able to, even if it is inconsistent young talent, inject some really high-end hockey players with high ceilings onto their lineup, which I think for a team that did strike out, on so many different players in free agency is absolutely a huge reason. Even when they're not producing points on any given night, it's like, well, it's that or again, like you mentioned, some guys that are in Grand Rapids right now. Like I think it has made a world of difference, even if they are not necessarily producing any given night, or we still complain about the depth scoring sometimes. It's still a huge reason for the team's success.
Right. And another thing that's just been so important for the Red Wings is their rock. Honestly, it's Moritz Seider, who defensively has taken another step forward, where this season his defensive metrics have never looked better. And part of that is ASP being brought up and Ben Sherratt playing on that pair, and Ben Sherratt having a career year. And your third pair, like Travis Hamonic, might take some flack from the Detroit Red Wings fan base, but he is a much more competent third pair defenseman than Justin Hull was. Like Johansson JBD is a much more competent third pair than what we saw last season. So the defense being more competent down the lineup has allowed Moritz Seider to not be deployed in the most insane deployments that he's ever been deployed in for the first time in his career. Right. And it's helping him thrive. He's still getting tough defensive matchups and the toughest defensive matchups on the team, but he's being given more opportunities to show his stuff. And obviously, he's had a couple of flubs here on the blue line and the power play, but outside of that, man, he's been unreal. Amongst the defensemen in the NHL who have played at least 250 minutes, Moritz Seider ranks 11th, Scotty, in expected goals percentage, expected goals share. So let me see if I can't scroll back over to that percentage. It doesn't matter. The percentage itself doesn't matter. He's 11th in the NHL amongst defensemen who have played at least 250 minutes. He's played over 500, and there's only two players on this list that have played in the top 15 that have played over 500 minutes, and that's Adam Fox at 12, Moritz Seider at 11, and then it is Adam Fox at 12, and then I included Cale Makar because he's at 485, and he's Cale Makar. Of those four players who have reached that 500-minute benchmark or have come close to it, Moritz Seider is the only one who's been given bulk defensive zone deployments. The rest of those guys get high percentage offensive zone deployments versus defensive zone deployments. So he's rocking an incredible expected goals percentage, 11th in the league amongst defensemen with at least 250 minutes played, despite getting bulk majority defensive zone deployments. I talk about Moritz Seider all the time. He is one of the most underrated two-way defensemen in the NHL, and that continues to be the case, but I think now he's finally getting a little bit more national media love because he's getting articles written about him. So he has absolutely been part of what's been going right for Detroit.
Yeah, and part of that is Detroit's good.
Right.
I mean, it's like sometimes it's just as simple as that, man. Like you don't see a ton of think pieces that are put out there about, good players on like irrelevant or not very good teams. So I think that part of it is just the fact that he's now the number one defenseman for a team that's first in arguably the hardest division in hockey.
Yes. Scotty, let's head to another break. When we return, we'll talk about I think there's one more thing that's glaring about what's going right for this team, and then a few things that they could still do better at. And then we'll talk about the preview of the New York Islanders. So stay tuned for that in segment 3 of Locked On Red Wings. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially when your team's making the late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So go to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Scotty, I think the final thing we should talk about is what's going well with the Red Wings is their special teams. Now, the power play obviously is it's the 13th in the league at 21.7%. Still pretty solid power play by all intents and purposes. But I know a lot of people's bars were probably raised after last year's incredible power play that seemed to score every time they're at the man advantage. But the penalty kill too, Scotty. This season is ranked 14th with an 80.4% success rate on the penalty kill when they were dead last and franchise worst and nearly league history worst penalty kill off of last season. So special teams both being top half of the league is going a long way to contributing to this team's success.
Yeah, I mean, the penalty kill alone, as you said, like the power play certainly hasn't been producing as it was last year, but the penalty kill not being the worst thing I've ever laid my eyes on is certainly a really big difference from last year to this year. So yeah, absolutely.
Is it real though, right? Because that's kind of the thing that we've been going on a little bit of I wouldn't say tangent. We've been talking about the good things that's been going on with this team, and we agreed that guys like Larkin, DeBrincat, and Raymond are playing at an unreal pace right now. They'll go through ebbs and flows, might struggle at times, be picked up by others. But do you think that this special teams is sustainable for them? Do you think that that can remain top half of the league in both of those regards?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. I'm really not worried about the power play, certainly. I think the question more in lies with the kill. I think so. I don't expect this to be like some elite penalty kill that's going to rank among the, top 3 or 5 best in the NHL or anything. But I certainly do not think it's far-fetched to expect them to remain in around the middle of the pack or the top half of the NHL. I don't think that's like a ridiculous take. And even if they slip a little bit, I'll still take it. Like they were so bad last year. Like I'll take even a small kind of fall back down to earth.
I don't think the PKs. I think the PK is real in that they can maintain top half of the league. I mean, that was one of my bold takes to start the season. So outside of that, I mean, 5-on-5 statistics is one thing that I've been hammering home all season long. They're 7th in 5-on-5 shot attempt share in the league. They're 23rd in 5-on-5 save percentage, and that's one of those areas where you hope that you can get better. Because Gibson, and I think Talbot's actually been overall pretty solid. He had that, I believe he was in net for that big blowout game the last time the Red Wings played the Islanders. But I think overall Talbot's been pretty good. But when you talk about areas to improve, I feel like Gibson is one of those areas they definitely need to have improve if they want to really make a push for the playoffs.
Yeah, I think not to put like the weight of the franchise on his shoulders or anything, because I think that's ridiculous. But like, yeah, I think he's probably, if you want one individual player that most fits into this category, it is probably Gibson. And that's not to say that he's been terrible or anything, but he certainly hasn't been like the expectation was for him to be the 1A, the bell cow for this team in between the pipes, because they haven't had that in a long time, and it's been more of a 50-50 split, and Talbot's performed better. So like, you know what I mean? Like I think that there's certainly some more room for improvement. He's had a couple of really nice games here and there, but I think in general he probably, like I said, fits into that category better than anybody else we'll talk about.
Yeah, I think that when it comes to is this real or not, I think the goaltending, it might have a little room for growth in terms of it, like save percentage improvement, but I would expect them both to kind of float around 900 this season. Plus, I mean, the league average save percentage is around that number too. I think they're going to be league average goalie tandem, which is a little disappointing because we had, I think, some elevated hopes for John Gibson, but we always knew this was a reality too. But he is fully capable of getting hot and being unreal because we also, like I just said, know he can be so much better too. Another thing too, Scotty, the big glaring need from this team is depth scoring, right? We talked about the youth and the top 6 forwards being a big boost for this team, but down the lineup, there's not a lot of goals coming from the bottom 6, especially guys like Andrew Kopp, JT Compher, who's playing in a elevated role at the moment as the second line center, but Michael Rasmussen, James Van Riemsdyk, like your top players will go through nights where they're not going to get a lot of points and you'll need goals from elsewhere. Do you think that they can step up and provide?
So I'm going to repeat myself a little bit, not to put all of the weight on one man's shoulders, but I really do think that a large part of this conversation, not all, okay, there's a lot of bodies there. There's plenty of guys that have not been standing up in terms of production that can, okay, not all, but I think a lot of this falls on the shoulders of Marco Kasper. I feel like when you look down the lineup card, I'm not holding my breath for Comfer or Kopp or a 40-year-old JVR to produce. Berggren's been healthy scratched. Like you look up and down this lineup, where are you going to get that production from? I mean, if you get it from, like, they knock Finney down to go play with Danielson, you get it from there, then great. But this still, then, like, you would prefer Kasper to be the 2C. And like he's playing, has moved to wing to try to get him going. He is such a big piece of this puzzle, especially when you're looking at the players that aren't, the top 4 or 5 point producers on the roster. He is arguably the most utilized, or at least was, among them. So I think that he is a huge reason for that. Do I think that someone can step up? I mean, I'm sure as heck hoping so. It would. I have my doubts, but at the same time, like the default continues to be, well, they're at least getting opportunities, and I think that will.
Right. I mean, the fourth line in particular, this current iteration that is Andrew Kopp, Michael Rasmussen, James Van Riemsdyk, or insert Soderblom or Berggren whenever it's their time to get some ice time, they actually play well as a fourth line. And I do like, I said it on yesterday's episode, I do like Andrew Kopp as the center of that fourth line, but they're 3 players on any given night, besides Berggren, who's got the ability to shoot the puck, don't have a lot of scoring touch. So it's going to be a grind them out style goals, but they have done a good job of playing good defense. They can also
only play like 8 or 9 minutes.
Right. It's hard to have a huge impact in a short amount of time. Anyway, Scotty, I mean, in terms of what they're doing well and what could be improved upon, do you have anything else, or should we quickly preview the New York Islanders?
No, I think that's pretty much it. I think the biggest concerns are finishing / depth scoring, whichever, chicken or egg. Whichever one of those, and then Gibson. I think that those really are the biggest talking points. The Islanders have had a fun year, man. They got one of the best young players in the entire NHL who's on like a historic pace. So.
Yeah, and it's actually insane how good Schaefer's been for how underrated he was going into the season, because
even
he
on
wasn't
draft
talked
night,
about.
People were like, "Oh, he's not like a bona fide 1-1, but he's like probably the best in this class," and now he looks like certainly a bona fide 1-1.
Right. He's got 7 goals and 8 assists in 20 games for 15 points. He's averaging 22.5 minutes a night as an 18-year-old in the NHL on the blue line. So he's playing big minutes, scoring lots of goals, driving play up ice as an 18-year-old defenseman. He has had a better coming out party than Connor Bedard did. Like, that is, and again, it's early yet.
Been great this year, but like, yes, in terms of rookie season. Yeah.
Rookie season, that is what I was implying, right? Because Bedard and Macklin Celebrini have been incredible this season. But, Bedard's season
started. What was that, last night, 2 nights ago?
He and Celebrini both had a hattie on the same night.
Oh, true, yeah. I forgot, yeah.
But no, they've been much better this season. As you can tell, their record is 11-7-2, third in the Metropolitan Division. I was telling you, Scotty, I was telling you at the beginning of the season, and you didn't believe me. That boring era of Islanders hockey is gone.
You're right.
Lou Lamoriello out the door.
You're right.
The Islanders may no longer be my most hated team in the NHL.
Schaefer, man, like how you can't possibly justify playing that brand of hockey with a weapon like that on your blue line. Like that is literally that would be sacrilegious. That is unjustifiable.
They physically cannot because he's just gonna
because he right. Like that's not how he plays hockey. Like they literally couldn't if they tried. Yeah.
I'm trying to find them here. Whenever I look at this list on Natural Stat Trick to find out where they rank among shot attempts and all that, my eyes always ignore the one team that I need. So when it comes to 5-on-5 shot attempts, they do rank 27th in the league. Let's see. That is, they're 14th in shot attempts for at 5-on-5. But the reason they are so low is because they give up a lot of shot attempts too. 4th most shot attempts against at 5-on-5 with 9,418. Their expected goal share on the season is 21st, though. So that tends to indicate to me that they might get outshot, but the shot attempts that they're generating are generally a little bit higher quality. So they're a pretty good team. They're not the best team in the league, but they have a really young, fun player. They crushed you when you went to the island. So it's an opportunity for the Red Wings to strike back. Their power play is ranked 27th at 15%, and their PK is ranked 9th. So it's actually so backwards to their 5-on-5 metrics.
Right. Yeah.
They they score a lot of goals at 5-on-5, but not on the power play. Yeah. But they give up a lot of shots on the 5-on-5, but not on the PK.
We talked about that last time we played them too, because it was backwards then as well.
But I mean, hey, you can play a different game when you're on special teams. So
yeah, and like different personnel and whatnot. So yeah, we'll see. I think that this is a good opportunity for a little bit of redemption for sure, because that was not a very good game that they played against the Islanders last time they faced them.
They also have the fifth best save percentage at 5-on-5 at 92%. So yeah, goalie is being good for them.
For sure.
Scotty, do you have any final thoughts?
We ball.
We do ball. We'll be back with a new episode tomorrow, recapping the game against the New York Islanders. So stay tuned for that. Same time, same place. It's your team every day.